Dave Grush, who was, did a huge interview on News Nation and spilled the beans about aliens, comes in and again offered nothing new. The big headline is nothing new. Well, let's talk about evidence, because that's been the main thing that's been lacking the last 6 years, is a lot of stories, a lot of photos with stories behind them, a lot of videos with stories behind them. But it's really been lacking on evidence of non-human intelligence, of aliens, of extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
So it all led up to today's hearing. There were a lot of expectations for evidence. Did you see, were you convinced, was any evidence presented?
There was almost no new evidence. Professor R.V. Loeb was running the Galileo project, which is a scientific project to look for UFOs, basically, in our airspace, said a couple of days ago, we need real evidence, not what people said. And really all we've got from these hearings is what people said. David Grush is going by mostly what people told him.
Exactly. The people who actually saw them. Why weren't the people who actually saw these things called before Congress?
Yeah, and I think if we can't get the real evidence in terms of recordings and data and radar and things like that, the next best thing would be the first-hand witnesses.
Let's move on to David Grush. David Grush made headlines 2 months ago, going on News Nation, which has become America's UFO channel, with a jaw-dropping story and allegations that the U.S. government has a top secret, uber secret team that recovers crashed non-human UFOs, that non-human intelligence bodies were inside these UFOs, that people have been killed to keep it a secret, that the aliens themselves have been killing humans, a whole bunch of stuff. And so he was, dead center in today's hearing. What did you think of his testimony and what he had to say?
Yeah, I mean, this whole hearing, I think, was triggered by his initial claims, and really, people did want to hear what he had to say. I wanted to hear what he had to say, but he didn't say anything new that I can really think of that was actually significant. He basically repeated some of the same claims, perhaps in less detail than he had before, but in nearly every interesting question, like he was asked things like, have we made contact with aliens? And he would say that he can't talk about this. He can talk about it in a secure setting.
I can't discuss that in an open session.
Over and over again, that was his answer.
I do know a lot of that information, but that's something I can't discuss publicly. I can't discuss that publicly. Once again, I can't discuss that publicly.
So it was very disappointing. It was originally billed, I think, as being this great hearing where we would have all these witnesses coming forward. The people that David Grush had talked to, who had told him these things, were going to be subpoenaed and brought in, and they would tell us all about where the bodies were and which hangar these flying saucers are in, and where's this giant one that's in another country somewhere. But we didn't. We just got David Grush himself and these two other pilots that we've been hearing from for years. And then David Grush just repeats essentially everything that he'd said before and says that anything else I'm going to have to tell you in a secure setting. Sure. So it kind of kicked the can down the road. And hopefully...
As is tradition here.
Indeed.
He states this in his opening statement and reiterates this because he's asked about it, is he didn't physically firsthand see any of this stuff. He says in his statement that a lot of this information was given to him through second, third parties. And he considers those people to be legitimate. And so he considers what they have to say to be real. And no names were named. He wasn't really asked to name any names for the most part. So it's still this big question mark. And as you said, it's disappointing because we thought these answers were coming today. They didn't come today. Get the people who saw the alien bodies in the seats with their hand raised saying, I swear, get those people. It just seemed like a missed opportunity.
And whenever you get to a question that was actually kind of getting to the meat of the matter, Grush would just say that he couldn't answer that question.